presenting for team. My name is Adigwen. I'll be presenting for the SM for the lead SM for team binary. Next slide, please. With presentation, we have team binary leads, which is for the sprints. We have Miracle, Adigwen, KG, Damisola, Muslima, and Goodness. Next one, please. Presentation by Adigwen. Next one, please. Now we have the team members, as we can explain before. We have the Scrum Master, which is I'm the lead, with other members here today, Sioma, Motna, and Stevie. Next one, please. The roles of Scrum Master, translating agile ceremonies like daily stand-up, sprint planning, review, retrospective, backlog, refinement, ensuring they are kept within the time box. Supported the team, escalates impediments, update the team charter. Next one, please. We have deliverables for this sprint, which is payment cookies, cookie consent, cookie policy page, cookie storage and transmission, cookie preferences, cookie consent on and off, payment capture, capture challenge, prevention of fraud transactions, audio capture options, capture expiry management. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. We have the Long Reach e-commerce platform project name. Time for Sprint 6, August 13 to August 26. Project goal to create comprehensive e-commerce platform for Long Reach UK to enable easy online sales and distribution of health and beauty products while improving customer engagement and support. The sprint goals for this sprint is to create PBIs for the payment gateway, showing the various payment options, the payment cookies, options, and the payment recapture. The features created are credit card payment, PayPal payment, payment cookies, payment recapture. Next slide, please. We have definition of done and definition of ready as screenshot captures. Next slide, please. We have our team charter here. As you can see the screenshot on it on the screen. Next slide, please. We have the Scrum ceremonies, which we are used to, which is the daily stand-up, sprint planning, sprint refinements, the sprint review, and sprint retrospective. We have the Scrum Masters on the right, Adegbero Yetunde, Isioma, Motrai, and Steven, and the lead roles, ADM Miracle, SM Adegbero, D. Akiseloyin, Ayobami, BA Damisola, and Goodness, Iwe Nathan. Next slide, please. We also have our charts represented by the cumulative flow diagram, the velocity, and the bond, the team binary backlog items. Next slide, please, which tracks the flow of our work. We have also the screenshot of the Azure board, the PBIs on the board. Next slide, please. A continuation of the screenshots of the Azure board showing the PBIs. Next slide, please. We have our capacity here. Next slide, please. We have estimation board from 1 to 6 as shown on the screen. Also the estimation board and the process it follows by voting. Next slide, please. We also have the capacity here. Next slide, please. We have the delivery plan shown on the board on the Azure board, which is have the screen down here. Next slide, please. A continuation of that as well. Next slide. We have the escalation process outlined here by identifying the issue by recognizing and identifying problems, under which comes impediments, risk, conflicts, scope, creep, team discussions, daily scrum, retrospective, involve the team, the Scrum Masters by facilitating removal and coordination, by escalate to product
1 minute left.
Clarification. As we can see, next one, please. The impediments and mitigation, more focus on individual tasks and the team task. Uncompleted PBIs from 3-4 were moved to sprint from 5 to 6. As we have that mitigation here, issues escalated to ADM and testers were told to carry out and test on paper. Next slide, please. We have retrospective board. Next slide, please. We have a Long Reach website, screenshots. Next. Continuation of the screenshots. Next. The continuation of that one as well. Next. Next, please. The continuation of the screenshot. Next. The products across there. Lessons learned, quick escalation to PM, collaboration and effective communication among team members. Realistic planning, continuous improvement in process, ensuring Scrum ceremonies are effective and efficiently and effectively carried out, time management, identifying impediments,
Time's up.
mitigating them, encouraging and constructive feedback. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. There's the lead agile delivery manager for both teams. Next slide. Okay, this is our agenda for the day. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, as an agile delivery manager, we ensure fast and quality delivery for our project, the project owners, and we ensure the project meets customer project owner satisfaction. I will also ensure the agile methodologies and Scrum practices are met. Next slide, please. Our contribution will follow up with the project closely to ensure the project is going on well. I will communicate with other roles in the team to know if there's any impediments, and we develop a mitigation plan, which we normally do during our daily stand-ups. And we'll also communicate with the developer. Most times they are not with us, so we'll communicate to them personally to check what they've done and if there's any impediment on their side. Next slide. Okay, what was done for Team Agile? We had 15 PBIs planned, 12 committed, 14 completed, 1 suspended, which is that payment by paper, because there was no available paper accounts for the QA, so we had to suspend that. Then 3 from that 15 PBIs, we had to complete 3 from 25. Then for Team Binary, we had 19 PBIs planned, 7 committed, 8 completed, 10, sorry, supposed to be 9. 9 from sprint 5, 4 completed, 3 from sprint 4, 2 completed. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the mind map for the sprint 6. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, this we had to create a detailed project plan, and there's a long range Team Agile. Team Agile is taking over. Team Agile is working on header and footer, while Team Banner working on banner. Next slide. Under header, you can see all the PBIs there, and they were all completed. Next slide. Then under footer, you can see all of them there. They are all completed. Next slide. And this is how it is if you open each PBIs. This is how it is, the duration, the time frame, the person working on it, and the percentage complete. Next slide, please. Okay, same for binary, this is how it is. Next slide. This for sprint 6. For sprint 5, next slide. And for sprint 4. Next slide, please. Okay, for binary, same, this is how it is for binary. If you open each of the PBIs, this is how it is. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the burn down charts, because I used the MS project in developing this. So I had to collect the total burn down charts of it. Next slide, please. There's a milestone report of the project plan. Next slide, please. Okay, there's the project overview, and as of when I submitted this report, were 90% complete. Next slide, please. Okay, during the course of the Sprint 6 project, we had some issues which were documented here, but the one I will talk of is
1 minute left.
I feel it's a limited resource on the side of the developer. What we had to do, we reached out to the PO, and the PO said she'll be happy to err on the side developer. So we had to beg the BAs to try and edit the Azure story to suit what developers developed. Next slide, please. Okay, our constraints, we had sorry, it's supposed to be delaying quick response from some of our team members, availability of the scenario resource for our Scrum events, which was plan refinements we've done, we hardly had them for our Scrum event. I'm not sure we had any of them for our Scrum events. But by now we had to make our time to commit, to explain to the developer or to involve him on a separate sprint planning, to explain to him. Then for Agile, it wasn't available. Then limited resource size and tight schedule on the side of developer, which I explained earlier. Next slide, please. So our lesson learned at this point, we had effective communication. Communication was good. Sorry, can I just have 30 seconds, please? We had good communication, the leads were okay, and we were able to resolve conflict within the team. This sprint has been a challenging sprint, which is the last sprint, so we had 1 or 2 issues within the team, and we had to resolve it within ourselves. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the tools we use: MS Project for the project plan, Excel for the grid log, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. Sorry for the delay, please.
So hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Damisola Ogunloro, and I'll be presenting for the BAs this evening. So the content for today, I'll be going through team members, our key meetings, the sprint goal, some snapshots of our Azure board, the current state of it, overview of some of our PBIs, artifacts and documentation, our gap analysis, process workflow diagrams, a collation of our PBI, lessons learned, and finally the tools that we have used so far. So this sprint, myself and the lovely goodness were the team leads, along with the same steady team members that we have, making us a group of 10, or a team of 10, I should say. So some of the key meetings we had this sprint, we started off with our sprint planning, and then we had our usual BA meetings with our mentor, Emmanuel. We also had a requirement solicitation meeting with our PO, a sprint refinement, and one of the very important meetings that we had this sprint was our end of project demo, where we were able to demo what we have done so far to our product owner, and that was for Longreach and SharePoint. So the sprint goal for this sprint was to further develop our cookies and capture. So here's a snapshot of what the Azure board currently looks like, or I should say it looked like 2 hours ago. And this is also a screenshot of a continuation of that screenshot from the Azure board. So overview of the PBIs this sprint, we committed 7, developed 8. We still have 1 in QA. We have none in QA done. We have 3 that are in done, and we have 5 in UAT. So I'll show you some PBIs, wireframes, development side that we on here. So on the left here is a PBI, the user story and the acceptance criteria with 3 scenarios. And on the right-hand side is the wireframe to corroborate this PBI. Another one is another PBI called failed reCAPTCHA. Again, user story, acceptance criteria, and wireframe on the right. Here is another PBI called successful reCAPTCHA. Again, user story, acceptance criteria, some additional information, and the wireframe for the developer and for the whole team on the right-hand side. On the left here is the developmental website, which just shows that if you can see the I am not a robot, the reCAPTCHA section with a green tick, that just shows that the CAPTCHA worked successfully for this customer. And the wireframe we created is on the right-hand side. Here is also another PBI website cookies, user story again, acceptance criteria, additional information, and the wireframe on the right. Here is a screenshot of the development site, just showing the cookies pop-up page when it comes on screen, its functionalities, and then there's the wireframe on the right-hand side. So here I'll be showing you artifacts and documentation, some of our gap analysis, process workflow diagrams, and this sprint we created 5 process maps. which were end-to-end for our Longreach e-commerce website. So starting off with the customer registration and login process, Longreach, the product search process map, the product purchase and checkout process map, the order fulfillment and shipping process workflow diagram, and finally a customer review process workflow diagram. So, just to quickly explain this, we have the customer and the
1 minute left.
Thank you. So the user starts off, clicks on reviews clicks on review, and then the system displays the review page. And then the customer is able to write a review, submit the review, and then the system acknowledges it, and that is the end of that process. So I'll be showing you a number of screenshots of the PBIs that we wrote through sprint 1 to 6. So here's one. Here's another one covering both Longreach e-commerce website and SharePoint. And some of the lessons we learned this sprint is to continue to improve our quality of wireframes, also our quality of process workflow diagrams, teamwork, of course, mitigating risks as promptly as possible and escalating it through the right channels, better communication, and to continue to multitask as BAs. Some of the tools that we used, as you can see on screen, Miro, Balsamiq, Microsoft Visio, Lucidchart, Teams, Draw.io, Azure DevOps, Zoom, and Telegram. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I will be presenting for the QA for Team Binary. Thank you. Next slide. So for this sprint cycle, Nathan was the QA lead and I was the sub, and we have Davis, Victor, as well as Ami. Next slide. So some of our objectives for this sprint cycle was to complete functional testing of the Longreach website, also verify and close high priority bugs, and ensure bugs that have been carried over from sprint 4 and 5 are being fixed and retested. Next slide. A few of our key metrics, as you can see, is this sprint, I think we had a total of 12 test cases. We had 5 test cases, or should I say PBIs, that were carried over from previous sprints. And we had 7 new PBIs committed for this sprint. And then we also identified some bugs whilst we were testing. Next slide, please. So here's a snapshot of all the PBIs that were assigned to the QAs, and you can see on column F the results. So we had about, I believe we had about 7 field tests and 5 pass. And for the tests, what we did was to raise the bugs, as you can see on the screen. Next slide. So here's a snapshot of what our queue looked like whilst we're working on testing in Azure DevOps. To your right is an example of one of the PBIs that we looked into, and at the bottom right corner just shows an example test case completed. Next slide. A few of the challenges we experienced during this sprint as one, bugs not being reviewed. Like I said previously, some of the bugs were being carried over from sprint 4 to 5 to 6. I think one of the challenges that was raised was we didn't have the developers or the BAs look into the existing bugs. And this was because they mentioned that they didn't have visibility to the bugs. And so this was discussed during our daily stand-up. Also, we had previous PBIs or user stories that were already developed and completed. They were updated in the course of pushing them into sprint 4, 5, and 6, but this was not clearly communicated to the QAs, which meant that we still had the same test cases that we wrote in sprint 4 while they were in sprint 6, and these were already updated. So again, this was one of the challenges we faced. So there wasn't clear communication, which was raised during our daily stand-up. Also, resource constraints. We, in the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks, one of our resources, I think, also dropped out of the intern, so which reduced our headcount as QA test leads. Next slide. Actions taken. Like I said earlier, we had some challenges and we decided to raise this during the daily stand-up. So going forward, we'll be collaborating even closer with our developers as well as the BAs to resolve any field tests or any bugs that we've raised. Secondly is how do we triage our bugs going forward? So there needs to be effective communication. And one of our developers also mentioned to always tag their names within the discussion section of each PBI that fails. Next slide. So lesson learned is early bug identification, and going forward, we will be tagging the appropriate BAs or developers to each field PBI. We would also be ensuring that we join the daily stand-up, because I believe this was also raised by the SMs. I think attendance was poor at some point, and this was in the last 3 weeks. So we've taken all of those into consideration, and yeah. Next slide. I think that's about it. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Good evening. My name is Muslima, the data analyst for Team Binary. Next slide, please. This is the outline of all the work done. Next slide, please. The group members are Ayobami, Muslima as the lead, Ebere, Bode, Oyindamola, and Olabanji. Note, in Sprint 6, the DAs, can you please go back? In Sprint 6, the DAs have continuity of tasks by engaging in personal development and group work using the various analysis tools, Power BI, Tableau SQL, and Excel. Next slide, please. We firstly engage in data cleaning, which is our group work. Next slide, please. This is the description of the work done on the group work. The Social Boost delegates a task to Team Binary data analysts to help analyze huge amounts of unstructured data of content generated by users. The data was provided in 3 CSV file formats. Team Binary data analysts cleaned the data in Excel and matched them using VLOOKUP. The top 5 content category based on aggregate score was determined using the SUMIF function. The raw data and clean data are shown below. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. This is the raw data. Next slide. This is the clean data. Next slide. The clean data continue. Next slide. The match data set using the VLOOKUP. This is part of the description. Some of the work that we done using VLOOKUP. Next slide, please. Top 5 category by aggregate sum. This is part of the question, and this is the answer. Next slide. This is the personal development by individual. It was done by Muslima, which is me. A new database called SQL tutorial was created for this query. The snapshots highlighted the upper and lower case function to show string to change string rather to capital and small letter respectively. That's what the snapshot represents. Next slide, please. The snapshot shows how to create a procedure by copying an existing table into itself. Next slide. The snapshot shows how to use query inside another query termed subquery. Next slide, please. The personal development done by Oyindamola on Excel. The question goes thus: what count of TV shows were added each month regardless of the year? This is the raw data. Next slide, please. This is the work done using VLOOKUP. Using left formula to generate the months added and using pivot table to show counts of shows added each month. Next slide, please. The question number 2 shows sum of duration of all rating by the release year. Next slide, please. This is sales overview using Power BI. It was done by Oyindamola as well. Next slide, please. This is the description of the dashboard done by Rini Damola. Next slide, please. Sales overview using the decomposition of tree analysis. Sales overview using the decomposition tree to analyze net profit in terms of customer, country,
1 minute left,
customer name and procedure. Next slide, please. The Tableau dashboard done by Akinshelore Ayobami. Next slide, please. The Excel done by Olabode. Next slide, please. Pivot chart showing the sum of sales and combo chart done by Olabode. Next slide, please. The Tableau representation of Excel table, the work done by Olabode as well. Next slide, please. Visualization for attendance tracker and PBIs from sprints 1 to 6 done by Olabode. Next slide, please. The SQL work done by Ebere using inner join to join different tables. Next slide, please. Another snapshot of SQL, use of cast function to change the birth date of
Time's
an
up.
employee. Next slide, please. The work done on SQL, use of select statement done by Ebere. Next slide, please. The use of group function, the use of group by function done by Ebere. Next slide, please. Visualization of Excel using the line chart, bar chart, and pie chart done by Ebere. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bukola. I am here on behalf of Team Agile, and today we'll review our progress and outcomes from the Sprint 6. The role leads, these are the role leads: Miracle, myself, Adejoke, Catherine, Oluwasegun, and Paradise. The ADM has already presented with Team Binary, so I'll just scroll through his pay, his presentation. Yeah, same. And here we go. I'll be presenting on behalf of the Scrum Master team for Team Agile. And here is the content for this demo. And these are the Scrum Master team members. We'll look at, here's the overall deliverable for the Long Reach project. And this is the project, the sprint goal for Sprint 6, the documentation of end release going ahead. And these are the Scrum events during the Sprint 6, sprint refinement, sprint planning, daily stand-up, sprint review, and retrospective with the dates and the time allotted for each of the events. And this is our capacity planning. This is a calculation of the capacity planning using the default distribution. Each member of the QA team were assigned 2 hours, and the developer were assigned 50% allocation because they were not full-time members of the team. And the team, we went on to calculate the Scrum events, deducting it from the default distribution, and were able to get the available capacity. Then we calculated the focus factor rather. Then the focus factor was used to multiply the available capacity for us to get the real capacity. Then we look at the metrics. A total number of 16 PBIs were committed, 2 of which were committed from, but not developed from Sprint 5. Another 2 were developed from Sprint 5, but not tested. 12 were newly committed in this sprint. One of the VBLs due to unavailability of PayPal account was moved back to the backlog, was moved out of sprint into the backlog. So eventually we were only able to do 16 PBIs for this sprint. Then we look at that at our burn down chart. The team completed all the tasks. Looking at it, we have 100% completion, and the total scope decrease of 4 points, and we have a consistent average burn down of 5 points, which indicates steady progress throughout the sprint. The sprint ended with no remaining effort, showcasing the efficient task management. Then we have the sprint PBI burn down. The PBI burn down reflects all the PBIs planned for Sprint 6, which were completed with an average burn down of 1. The team effectively managed the scope of work, and the scope remained stable, suggesting that team maintain focus on the defined PBIs. Then we move on to the team agile velocity. The average velocity of 18 was, we had 18 over the last sprint iterations, indicating a stable and consistent pace of work. The cumulative flow diagram shows that we have 48 items as work in progress. Then we go ahead to look at the demo of the completed PBI. We completed the currency icon, which is as seen in the screenshot below. Also, we have the terms and condition functionality, as the arrow indicates where it is at the footer of the page. And this is the page that it leads us to when you click on it. We have the demo, we have the cart, get it on the available store and all that. These are the demo, which can be reviewed as we go on. Then we have our accomplishments. We're able to look at deliver the long reach project deliverables. We had the enhanced user navigation, successfully integrated essential e-commerce functionality, implemented offers and coupon functionality, established critical legal compliance through the terms and conditions, enabled global accessibility with currency option and app store links. Then the team adapted swiftly, effective collaboration to ensure development. This was an achievement. The blockers and the resolutions, we had, due to the limited capacity of the developer, the developer struggled to meet the acceptance criteria and wireframe outlined in the PBIs. There were delays and required adjustment to the development approach. So there was a discussion with the PO, with the POs, and the PO made some recommendation which we followed. And this is our retrospective highlights where we had yesterday, and we were able to have this and actionable items. The lesson learned are, we need proactive capacity assessment, flexible scope management, strengthened collaboration, so that we can get things. And this is a summary. The sprint has been both challenging and rewarding, with critical features delivered and valuable lessons learned to improve future performance. And the team's ability to adapt and collaborate effectively has been key to overcoming obstacles and ensuring the success of the project. Thank you. Apologies for taking extra time. Please go ahead, Adejoke.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adejoke, and I'll be presenting on behalf of the BAs, the end of sprint. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Excuse me, I have a delay here. Whoosh. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. These are the agenda for today. And next slide, please. And these are the these are the names of the BAs that walked through the sprint. Next slide, please. From the first agenda, we have this is the second. This is documentation for the end of sprint, and we have user guide. And this user guide will take you through the usage of the e-commerce website, and whether you are the first timer or return customer, this guide will give you this guide cover everything you need to make the most of shopping experience. Next slide, please. Getting started. This will tell you how to get started on your account and browsing products. This will also show you on the guide how to get into your products, how to browse your products. Next slide, please. Managing your account as well. This will show you how to manage your account without any stress. Next slide, please. Adding product to the cart. This will also guide you on how to do that. Next slide, please. Checkout process. This will also guide you on that. Next slide, please. Post-purchase action. How to track your order and orders. Next slide, please. Customer support. In case you have any problem, how to get the support from the customer. How to get the support from the website through the necessary people. Next slide, please. 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 Next slide Yeah, these are the deliverable and recommendation for Long Reach Way e-commerce website. What has been delivered, what's outstanding, recommendation for the next phase. Next slide, please. Project deliverable statement. So we have for the project deliverable statement, we have full function e-commerce website, integrated payment and logistics system, user account management and order banking system, customer support portal, content management system, marketing tools and integration, staff training material and section. Next slide, please. What has been delivered? We have functional e-commerce website, user interface and user experience and enhancement, secure payment integration. Next slide, please. Deliverable for e-commerce. Yeah, during this time, we have 63 stories were assigned. 63 story users were assigned. User acceptance tested and completed. And these are the summary of the PBI table. We have 63 PBI approved by products, and these are the story. Anyway, next slide, please. Recommendation for the next phase. Then this is what are proposed: adequate time allocation, ongoing website maintenance, stakeholder involvement, advanced feature of user experience, mobile app development, international expansion. Next slide, please. And this is our product flow charts we did as a group, as a team. Next slide, please. This is the end of the project report. So in this place, you'll be able to, if you go through it, you will see the product overview, project scope. Next slide, please. Yeah, and all that. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is part of the project, the report. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the screenshot of our Azure board. And at this time, we have this. Next slide, please. And this as well. This is the screenshot of our UAT, everything that moved from UAT to done. This is a screenshot of it. Next slide, please. Screenshot of BA done. We have lots of done, but as at the time I was collecting this, these are the ready one. And next slide, please. Yeah, we only have PBI that was raised as a bug, and I think we removed that because of the, what was it called? Sorry, I couldn't see where. Okay, next slide, please. I couldn't see this one. Next slide, please.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Can you hear me, please? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Catherine.
Okay,
Oh.
all right, thank you. Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Catherine Ibelodea, and I will be presenting for today on behalf of the project management team of Team Agile. Next slide, please. Here we have the list of team members who have contributed greatly so far during this internship. We have me, Catherine, Onome, Omomi, Oluwabumi, and Olufunke. Next slide, please. In the next slide, we'll be taking a look at individual deliverables during this sprint. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. We did receive submission from 3 members of the team. The other team members were unable to send in their reports of their individual deliverables due to personal and unavoidable constraints. However, we have reports from me, Onome, and Omomi. They're all stated here. Next slide, please. In the next slide, we'll elaborate on the deliverables achieved as a team during the sprint. Next slide, please. Yes, we continued on monitoring and registering attendance. There's a link there for ease of reference. And also we did participate in Scrum ceremonies, and in preparation for the graduation coming up 7th of September, 2024, Saturday. We've all taken time out to fill the graduation form in order to help admin and management with their planning. And also, we are all looking forward to the graduation coming up on Saturday in 2 weeks' time. Next slide, please. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you very much.
Segun, are you there? Please go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwasegun Alao, and I'm the QA lead for Sprint 6. Next slide, please. Next slide. So this is the project overview for this sprint, which is a continuation on the development of Long Reach web application. And listed below are the teams involved in this sprint. Next slide. So, and here are the esteemed quality assurance engineers that worked on this sprint. And we have Rita, who is the test manager. So here we have the test plan. So the test plan, which highlighted how we went about to test the functionalities of the website that was developed, and the team rigorously tested the features to guarantee a seamless user interface for the users. And below is the team strategy that highlighted the phases of the testing that was done: the creating of test plan, test scripts creation, test script execution, and summary.
Segun, are you there?
Next slide. So here's the test environment that was used during the sprints: SharePoint for getting of resources, and Azure DevOps to manage the whole test process, Visual Studio that was used for automation, and Long Reach Way, which is the application under testing. Next slide. So here's a summary of the old tests that were that was done. So we had at the beginning of this sprint, 18 PBIs were committed. One was inherited from the previous sprints, and one was returned back because we didn't have access to paper account details. So the total test cases created were 25, and 25 were executed, 25 passed, and there was one that was not tested, which I said earlier, because of the paper details that was not available. And 2 test cases were not developed. I think there was an omission on my team members. During the sprints, 8 bugs were raised, and the 8 of them were closed at the end of the sprints. Next slide, please. So here's the Azure DevOps board. This was after the old test cases were moved from in QA to QA done before, and it was after the BAs did their UAT, and the 2 that were in QA done was due to a late submission from one of the team members due to uncertain clarity. Next slide. So here are like automation artifacts that were submitted by the team members. Next slide. This page shows the features, and this is the next slide. And these are the step definitions for one of the test cases that were These are the step definition for the test script that was written for one of the features. Next slide. So this is a report for one of the automation tests that didn't pass. Next slide. This is one of the features of one of the test feature. This is the feature page of one of the tests, because one of the user stories. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. These are just automation test scripts that were submitted. Next slide. And these are the test cases they were written, they were developed. Next slide. Next slide. And here's a documentation of the bugs that were raised, and the bugs were fixed as well. Next slide. So this highlighted what was expected and what was found out when the bug was documented. Next slide. So I'll be talking about what went well in this sprint. There was team collaboration despite the challenges that the team faced. We were able to work together, and there was regular communication between all the team members, from the QAs to the BAs to the Scrum Masters and the project managers. The adaptability, the team demonstrated great adaptability by managing the absence of key personnel. The business analyst successfully rewrote user stories, because when the bug was raised, they discussed this with the product owner, and they resolved to writing some of the user stories to suit what the client eventually wanted. Then the team showed a sign of positive attitude during the whole sprints. So challenges that were faced, there were limited resources on the part of the developer, which slowed down the whole testing process, and also the BAs having to change some of the acceptance criteria and wireframes to suit the developer, what the developer has done, as cited by the product owner. Lessons learned. During the sprints, much automation wasn't done, probably because it's the end of the sprint, and majorly non-availability of the QA members to be able to execute the automation, but they eventually executed the manual testing. Then we need to continue to train or learn the best practices in automation as well. Next slide. Thank you very much.
Paradise, you can go ahead, please.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Paradise, and I'll be making the presentation for data analysts. Data analyst guild tonight. Next slide, please. For this presentation, we'll just look at the sprint overview, get a hold of our team members, and then look at some artifacts produced by team members, and then we'll conclude. Next slide. So for this sprint, not much was done by the guild as a team in Team Agile, probably because training sessions has ended. However, we had just one session for Power BI to conclude our reporting. Generally, what we did mostly as a team has been personal development and collaborating to share ideas on job application, interviews, and supporting one another along the journey of along the process of applying for jobs and going for interviews. Next slide, please. Our team, we have Adolisa, Babajide, Sarah Labi, and myself. Next slide. So this is a dashboard created by Adolisa. Next slide, please. This is also one of her personal development work. Another dashboard created by Adolisa. Next slide. And here is Sarah's queries on SQL. Next slide, please. Same from Sarah, SQL queries from Sarah. Next slide. And here is also a chart created by Sarah using one of the data we were given by our Tableau tutor. Next slide. Next slide. This is also a work from Sarah done on Excel. Next slide, please. This is also Sarah's work. Next slide. That's Sarah's work as well. Excel. Next slide, please. Next slide. That's Sarah's work. Yeah, next slide, please. Thank you very much.